He got me. Oh, it tickles. Ah. It is Saturday, August 6th, 4:22 p.m. Currently 80 degrees. And it took some time, but thunderstorm season finally found Pittsburgh. So I had an idea of what I wanted to do today, but because of the weather, I'm not driving all the way out, possibly just to get rained out. So we're saving that thought. Instead, I'm going to revisit an area that we visited earlier in the year. And basically, yeah, it was blown out beyond all recognition. So we're going to check that out again. In all fairness, I've always been skunked in this area, and there's a couple reasons for that. Mainly the rocks make a good presentation virtually impossible, and a lot of guys lose a lot of bait and lures there. But I came up with an idea to counter that, so we're going to try my little theory today and see if it works. My name's Jake Workmeister, and I love fishing. So we're back in Sharpsburg, Pennsylvania, and we're going to go into the Wayback Machine as to what this area looked like in late March. Wow. Okay. So yeah, a little backstory. This is usually a walleye spot, and when I walk out of my car here, there's a little dock. It's typically 30 feet above the waterway. Typically. Man. Typically 30 feet above the waterway. Today, I don't know, closer to 30 inches. I have a morbid curiosity of whether or not this is going to work with this much current. More than likely not. More than likely all the fish are hiding in deeper holes. But we'll find out. So long story short, they ended up closing the river about 10 minutes after I got there. And that was actually the last time I went down there. So today we're actually going to bank fish. And the bank that we're fishing off of is actually part of the riverbed for at least a good chunk of the year. So it's going to be muddy, to say the least. The fun part today is going to be finding a spot, for all this mud. So from my understanding, this used to be a really good place to fish by the shore a few years back. Bad flood changed the riverbed down below. Now it's kind of a rock pile. You know what? I see some jumping around there. I'm gonna go to the nearer peninsula here. If I could get to it. Maybe not. Yeah, some of these side paths are grown in. 'Tis the season. You know what? We'll try this little beach area down here. It's pretty shallow. Most of this is only about 2 to 4 feet deep. Oh man, yeah, that is muddy. Wearing the thick boots today. Knew what I was walking into. So let's see if this is stable enough to work on. It might not be. That's gonna be a no from me. Yeah, you walk out there, my feet are going in probably about 4 inches into that mud. So I'm gonna need something a little bit more stable. If you can't tell, that's, for some of the year at least, this is part of the riverbed. And that's what makes this tricky. This area is not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you that much. Whew. Glad I packed these boots. So, it's an island out, or a little peninsula out there. I think there's already someone fishing it, so I don't want to bug him. So we're gonna go. My good news is I see, oh, that's bad news, I see rain. Gonna be one of them days. But rod holders are set up here. That is so shallow though. I don't know if I could cast in an area with substance. It's weird, it's high, but not in any of the right places. Here comes the rain. One big cloud right over this area. It wasn't even showing up on radar 5 minutes ago. So today's goal, brought a minnow trap and a minnow keeper with me. Today's goal is to get anything, and like I said previously, this area is prone to heavy snags. That is due to the rocks that have been moved around in inconvenient locations. So, to counter that, I brought along 20-pound fluorocarbon, which is less prone to snapping, the fish drags over something sharp. See, braided line has no memory. It's definitely awesome when it comes to tensile strength. It's not abrasion resistant. That's kind of its downfall. Already off to a wonderful start. Some very good fishermen I know. One actually works for the EPA, goes out, catches fish, tags fish, goes deep sea fishing, targets really big, crazy stuff. He's had issues fishing this area, lost 4 lures in 20 minutes. That was pretty much the end of that for him. So what I'm going to be using, taking everything I've learned over the past year, using the fluorocarbon for 1, using the mosquito circle hooks for 2, and I hope using both will help us out. We're going to start out with a packed bait dough ball. I do have a minnow trap. I'm not in the area where I want to be to catch minnow, but we'll see how that works out. Probably not well, as shallow as this is. I got my polarized lenses on, but as crazy as this water is right now, they're not going to tell me much. Big raindrops. Very big raindrops. This is what it's been for the past week here. I don't mind, it's cooling everything down a little bit as long as I don't see lightning. If I do, I'm going to be in more trouble than I was over at Twin Lakes. By the way, this is why most of the city quote-unquote fishing parks are absolute trash. All you have are boats zipping by all day, and a spooked fish is not hungry fish. That is kind of, I need to do a video on that. I was thinking about it all year, actually, going through these quote-unquote city parks, basically just to laugh at them. Like, yeah, this is a fishing spot, sure. Cool. I laughed, but I paid for it. Nylon leaders at the very least are a must when you're river fishing. Channel catfish will tear apart your braided line otherwise. Very efficiently, I might add. That ain't gonna do. And we've reached the opposite end of the spectrum. Whereas the last time I came down here, the river was too high. Now it is too low. These are the struggles of urban river fishing. I stayed in the area for a little while, but it was a lost cause with it being that shallow. So once the canoe ramp closed for the day, I actually took that over as it had a 5.5-foot drop off. It wasn't a great spot by any means, as there were a lot of rocks in the area and a lot of debris blows into this space. But it was deeper and much more capable of supporting larger fish than where I was. So it was the best place I could think of to go. And I should hesitate to say that rocks are bad. In fact, fish like hiding inside of them. It's bad for any type of crankbait, any type of hard lure. So During this whole fishing excursion today, I was only throwing soft plastics, Ned rigs in particular, that could get in and out of those tight spaces without getting snagged into the rocks. Treble hooks are nothing but treble. I mean trouble here. So, yeah, it wasn't really producing that much for anyone. The only other option would have been for me to use the dock that you saw at the beginning of the video. I'm not really much of a fan of pulling fish up 30 feet into the air, so I avoid fishing off of that. This area is still actually very good as a walleye spot if you're fishing with a boat. From shore, I was never too crazy about it last year, and it keeps reinforcing that point. In fact, I've never caught a fish in this area. And I was about to give up hope, but then this happened. Got one. Feels like a little channel. Little channel. Took some time, but that's the first fish I ever got out of here. Now, right here is where my hubris got the best of me. And experience teaches me to hold catfish a certain way. Basically, you're holding them right behind the dorsal fin and the two side fins. This prevents them from slipping loose and, well, doing what this one is about to do. I assumed that I could hold this 1 pound channel with the strength of my hand. I assumed incorrectly. Right there is where he got me. Don't worry, I have a better angle of it. You can see I'm not really using much strength in my right hand holding them. I'm kind of relaxed. And he took this moment to take that opportunity to get loose. And what happened, when he flipped out, he jammed his dorsal fin right into the base of my left thumb. And unfortunately, he hit an artery. Not bad. It was just a nick. But the blood pressure, in addition to it, being a blood vessel, it did bruise. And it did hurt for quite a few minutes. The injury is not serious. Contrary to popular belief, catfish do not have poison on their spines or anything like that. And no, you don't rub their belly against the wound in order to help it to heal. You don't use their urine. You don't use your urine. Just don't use urine. I don't know where these wives' tales come from, but yeah, don't do any of that. In fact, now that we have this opportunity to show you what an open wound looks like, I'm going to break into my little first aid kit and show you exactly what to do in this scenario. You can't tell from the camera angle, but I was already bleeding pretty well. So when I tossed him back in, I washed my hand in the river to see how bad the wound was. And with the blood pressure shooting blood out of the wound, it's not really possible for bacteria-filled water to go into the wound. Where you run into trouble is once the wound clots, bacteria then settles into that clot, then works itself into the skin. From there, infection gets into the blood vessels and can actually work itself into your heart. So this isn't something I take too lightly, and why I did purchase a first aid kit to begin with. And I urge you to do the same. Make no assumptions with catfish. There's a right way of holding them, and I knew better, and that was the wrong way. They're not toxic or anything like that, but man, when they get you, it stab you pretty good. So 1 pounder, 10 pounder, treat them all the same. Carefully. By the way, by the time I got the gel on, the wound had already clotted, so there was no more bleeding and no real need to have a band-aid. But for deeper wounds, you might want to consider a bandage of some type. Oh, and for health and sanitary reasons, do everyone a favor. Throw all of your medical supplies away once you're done with them. Preferably in a sealed bag. So that's going to do it for me here, at least. Yeah, today did nothing to really change my opinion of the place. It's very shallow, very rocky, very difficult current to deal with. Now, if you were on a boat out probably about 100 feet, more than halfway across the river, yeah, that's a different story. There's some holes out there. I think you'd do pretty well. But from shore, juice ain't worth the squeeze. But finally broke my skunk off of this area, at least. There are fish out here. The new leader works great. But I'm leaving right now because I need to meet a friend from a previous episode. And I didn't do a good job at explaining exactly how he and I know each other in the episode. But here's a little reminder, and I'll see you when we get there.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Big Dog. We're fishing. Having a good day.
So some time back, I was fishing my friend Billy's private pond and ended up catching this monster bluegill, as we call it, the bluegill of destiny. So he was playing at Spiel's Tavern that night, so I decided to drive out there and stop on by to say hi. So I get down here. Billy here is leaving, just leaving, but he sat in with the band tonight. He's actually hard to see, but there's saxophones all around too, Billy.
We're surrounded by them.
Yes.
They're hiding in their cases.
So that fills that. One of these days we'll
really
go out.
We know each other. Right?
Yeah.
And we tolerate each other's playing.
Next time we'll play down by the lake or something, or down by the pond. Yeah. Will be a lot of fun.
Down at the pond. Live at the pond.
I'm going to get back to my
Jake
beer.
And Bill, live at the pond.
So he's going to go home. I'm going to drink beer.
Look up my band, Billy and the Big Dogs. We're coming out soon. Check us out.
Check them out. So until next time, keep on fishing. And of course, the beer was used for purely medicinal purposes.
Hey, why did the fish get bad grades? Because it was below sea level.